Me and my friends were interested in psychedelics for a long time. The effects, ramifications, and consequences of doing so excited us to our core. I personally think very deeply, imaginatively, about life and existence daily, so this was like Xmas for me. A friend of a friend bought a set of tabs on the deep web, and they arrived at my best friend's free house, in a small piece of paper. The tabs looked extremely small, and it seemed unreal at the time that these tiny pieces of paper could change my life. There were about 5 of us, and 3 decided to try LSD for the first time. I can't even remember how it came to this point, but it felt spontaneous. The other 2 guys were on a coke come-down, which was an interesting contrast. We were at a studio flat. It kind of looked like the house of Patrick Bateman from American Psycho. It was gray, super sharp and clean. It was about 11 a.m., and we were in my friend's room, splitting the tabs. Weirdly enough, I didn't feel nervous at all, and I was committed to exploring this drug and my mind. We all took about 120 to 150 mics, and I placed it under my tongue, sitting on my friend's bed, with 2 other friends doing the same ritualistic process. There was this excited, nervous, comedic vibe to the situation. We then were chilling in the living room kitchen, which is one room. It was like an American-style open kitchen. For about 35 minutes, I didn't feel anything and began to feel slightly skeptical. After that time, in the 35 to 50-minute mark, I felt this new state in my mind and body. It was subtle at first, and it completely sneaked up on me without signal. It was hard to determine what I was feeling, and I felt like I slowly began to realize what it was. As I began to talk and move and do typical things, I realized that my mode of thinking had changed. My emotional state was happier, slightly more comedic, and confident. The LSD is literally a completely different mental state and felt alien, but awesome at the time. LSD always has this vibe to it, almost like a theme. It's kind of like a sour, exotic fruit, and everything has this sharp, comedic, flowy feel to it. My skin and body began to feel orgasmic as time went on. I kept flexing and touching my muscles. It felt incredible. My friend came out of the shower and urged me to take one. The shower was brand new and made of silver and glass. The water felt incredible on my skin. I felt like I could notice way more of the individual drops of water landing on my skin, and it was just this sandwich of warmth and sensation. As I looked at my reflection in the mirror whilst showering, I began to perceive myself as a kind of ancient Egyptian god. It's important to note that I was not tripping in the sense of visuals yet. This was a mental analysis of what I was as a sentient being and the situation in that moment. LSD is literally like taking the pill from Limitless the movie. You are like a genius version of yourself, seeing the world through clearer eyes. I began to bask in my newfounded realization of what I was, a god, pleasuring my body with intricate trickles of water and looking at my reflection in this advanced-looking space. I realized what humans were and have achieved, from apes to intelligent beings. It's as if the mental realization had translated into a physical, emotional feeling through the ritualistic process of the shower. I felt my ancestral lineage all the way up until this point. My confidence levels were through the roof. It was as if my testosterone levels were that of gods. I was literally basking like an animal at my reflection and situation at hand. This was about 1 hour after taking the tab, so this was just the initial phase, and not the peak. As I got out of the shower, I began to explain to my friend how I was feeling. He was on a coke come-down. After talking about some general stuff for about 1 minute, I literally felt like randomly breaking down and crying laughing. It was this overwhelming feeling to just release intense emotion. I was holding it back about 3 to 4 times as it came in random spurts. When I told my friend, we both began to laugh at the situation and looked into each other's eyes with a new sense of connection and clarity. It was as if he was experiencing the effects through me, which was very impressive at the time, since he was on a coke come-down. 90 minutes into the trip, my confidence, intellect, and wonder was soaring. I began to see the initial stages of visuals. Everything had this flowy movement to it, which resembles breathing in a way. But I've discovered that it is simply an illusion. If I look closely at something, I can see that what LSD does, it makes the edges of things kind of fuzzy, slightly moving. So that when I move back and look at the big picture, it looks like it's moving. We went outside and looked at the trees moving in the wind. It looked beautiful and hilarious at the same time. Almost like this universal comedy to everything that had form. That was big theme in LSD. Anything with form or acts like it has one was ridiculed by the universe through my experience. We decided to walk to the lake/park, about a 10-minute walk from the house. It was pretty sunny and the nature there is beautiful. I'd like to also note that I felt not fear or anxiety of walking into people on the street, as I was kind of peeking. I felt like I was in my supreme state and could handle literally anything optimally in that moment. As we got to the park, we were there for the whole peak. A lake/park seemed like an exotic jungle and was incredibly beautiful visually, like nothing I've ever seen. But the interesting thing about this trip was this. The visual, physical sensations were nothing to the realization and feeling of LSD. On my peak in the park, I walked around with 3 friends who were peaking at the same time. I felt like the whole universe came from me. Literally through this energy in my stomach, I realized that I was God. I felt like I reached enlightenment. I felt like the whole universe came from me. Literally through this energy in my stomach, I realized that I was God. I felt like I reached enlightenment. The environment around me became irrelevant. I was just solely focused on this feeling. I could literally feel like I was creating everything through one linear continuum, and that we control all our thought and emotions. Everything. All existence comes from within. Me and my friends didn't even talk. We just communicated through our eyes and body language. We began to just hold each other in the moment. It was marvelous.